Hello and welcome everyone to another edition of the FGA Report. This is Brian Smith, your host. I am currently getting over the Omicron virus, if you will, basically just a mild head cold that the whole world is sweating. It shouldn't be. Besides that, and my voice being a little bit off, I am on vacation, as some of you can probably tell, at my parents' house in Indiana. But anyway, I just want to talk a little bit about the transfer portal and how it's impacting kids around Florida, Georgia, Alabama, and all the different things that are going on. This is something I'm going to continuously do with little bits of information that I get. And this is just something that's another update, basically. A couple of examples that I'll use during this show is players that I know, players that I've seen that I believe that if they had been in previous classes, let's say 2016, 2018, before the NCAA allowed the COVID year of eligibility to be re-given to a player that played in 2020 and by accident really screwing up recruiting for a lot of teams, you're looking at a situation where a lot of kids in the state of Florida, we'll just start with that, would be recruited more and or have at least one Power Five offer or at least a MAC or Sun Belt, etc. That is not something that can be fixed. I get constant inboxes to my Twitter account and I get texts from coaches, etc. There's just nothing you can do. It's just math. The colleges want bigger, faster, stronger kids, meaning they've already been to college and they've already been through a college weight training program 99 out of 100 times. Can't fix it. That's just the way it is. There are going to be a lot of kids that get pushed down. And just to kind of look at it, I cover UCF for Sports Illustrated and Fan Nation inside the Knights. And I was kind of looking at it. UCF signed 10 kids from the state of Florida. They're high school players. Then I punch up Florida State. They have 9 kids listed from Florida, only 8 really. One of them's from IMG. Duffy, the quarterback, is originally from California. For 2 programs that are big state institutions in the state of Florida to combine for fewer than 20 players from the top NFL producing state in the country from the 2021 draft, 37 players drafted out of the state of Florida, Texas, number 2 at 33, shows you how much colleges are pushing for the transfer kids. I'm not saying I agree. I'm not saying I disagree. But I do know from talking to coaches all over at the high school level, 7-on-7, and college, as well as some of the recruiting administrative guys at different schools, this is the way it's going to be. And it's going to take probably 4 years for this to clear. And the reason for that is, again, and I'm not a fan of the NCAA, but this is one of the few times it wasn't technically intended to benefit anybody, and hurt somebody else. But the COVID year is killing a lot of the kids at the high school level because a guy that plays 4 years comes back this year. There's kids all over the country that played and came back. They weren't necessarily an NFL player, but they came back for 2021. And it's going to happen again in 22. And it's going to happen again in 23. And it's going to happen again in 24. And on and on and on. Even if it's just 2 kids per roster, that coach who's under an incredible amount of scrutiny at any Power 5 program in particular is going to take the kid that's going to help now because boosters do not care. They look at wins and losses. Did we beat our rival? Can I beat my chest when I talk to my friends at the golf outing? And those are the same boosters that donate 7 figures. That's the end of the discussion. So they're going to take that kid, especially D-line, O-line, and quarterback. Those are positions that just, it's a little bit different. There's a little bit of argument with that corner, but that's a position where raw talent can obviously take over. It's going to be hard for a lot of kids. And I apologize. I don't get back to every kid or every parent with the greatest answer, but for those of you reaching out, this is going to be a long-standing problem. And here's my advice overall, and I'll get a little more specific depending on position. You are going to either walk on somewhere, which, that's certainly your prerogative. And you should ask. I mean, if nothing else, you begin a dialogue. It's nothing unusual to start as a walk on somewhere and work up. That's nothing that hasn't been done a million times. Number two, you can be a person that goes to, let's just say, instead of a D1 school, an FCS school, and then does well a year or two, and it's just like a junior college. The way the NCAA has it now, rightly or wrongly, with the immediate eligibility. And I know this is really touchy, but coaching at the FCS level is hard enough for a lot of these guys, but it's probably going to be even more so now. Just as an example, Bryson Armstrong went to UCF this year, was the leading tackler, I believe, right before he hurt his knee. He played at FCS level last year. He's just a good football player. Wasn't the biggest guy coming out of high school, was under recruited, even though he's from the Atlanta area, which is pretty rare. Gets the chance to play college football, does well, has his academics in order, transfers to UCF, and shows off his skills. Okay, that's an unusual situation. They made it happen. He made it happen. He moves up. Now I have a feeling, just ironically, he's actually going to be the norm. There's going to be maybe not Alabama or Clemson or something like that, but most of the schools that you see consistently ranked in the top 25, Power Five or not, Houston and UCF and some of these schools that are getting ready to move up, they'll do it even more. But you're going to see 5 to 8 kids a year they try to take from transfers. A couple of them are probably going to be at that level, and there's nothing wrong with doing it. It's just subjective on what you can do with it. The only thing with that is I don't have contacts at that level. I can't advise anybody, hey, this school is great. This school, I know nothing about the FCS level and the coaching staffs. Zero. I've been asked that a few times, and quite frankly, I'm not going to lie to anybody. I have no freaking clue. It's just not the area that I've ever covered. That being stated, it's also a very interesting situation because they're going to get more talent now. Obviously, Travis went to play for Deion, or he's going to play for Deion over in the state of Mississippi. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that are moving parts. And it's quite honestly maybe going to open some doors from some of those programs and help the NFL kind of look at them too, which is cool. So don't just say, well, I'm only a Power Five. Those days are over. Again, Florida State and UCF, two big schools in the state of Florida that recruit this state religiously, less than 20 kids signed. Conservatively, there are 100 kids in this state, conservatively, that are good enough to play at those two schools each year. And they only took just under 20. Schools are being very picky with the high school kids right now because of that COVID year. If you're in this situation, you're a high school kid or whatever, whether you're a senior, junior, you're all going to get caught in this. It's not going away. I'm just kind of talking about this year, next year for the most part, but it's going to continue out because there's going to be some COVID remnants from this down the road. This won't be quite as much, say, 3 years from now. Finally, beyond the FCS and all that, you could always do the last thing that a lot of kids don't want to hear, and that's go to a prep school. I don't know a ton about them. There's a school named Feltram that's in the Haines City area near Orlando. There's some different schools around the country you can go to. I don't know a lot about these places, but at the same time, I do know that they are an opportunity to get some college credits and still be in a situation where you would have 1 year you'd play, but then you would go to college after that and have 4 years to play. So it's not a college you're going to, it's kind of an in-between step between high school and college, and it's a prep school. There's payment in it, there's scholarship with it, it's complex, and each kid would have to look into that. Again, much like with the FCS, I don't know anything about the coaches at these programs for the most part, but I do know one thing. It's an option. If you are stuck in it and you can't think of a better thing to do than to just go that route, well, just make sure you pick the right one for you. Before I kind of wrap this up, I just want to make one last basic statement. College coaches are still going to evaluate the same way they always have, and they've been kind of thrown off track by COVID. I've mentioned this many times before. College coaches do not like change, like zero like it. So for positions where there's more hands-on training, quarterback and O-line in particular, to a certain degree D-line, that really hindered a lot of kids getting offers. They're steadfast. I don't put hands on, that's okay. Then I don't offer. That's just how a lot of these guys are. They want to see them physically work at their school. And a lot of these kids didn't have that chance for whatever reason the last year or two because of COVID, because of money, camps were limited. There's just a million things. So you're going to see some problems with that. If you kind of look around, just talking about Alabama and Georgia, in addition to the state of Florida, I don't I don't think there's really any difference. All the camps and stuff, everybody tried to get around to them, but how many of the colleges were able to get kids on campus varied depending on area. I know Florida State had the one big humongous camp this past summer where they had kids from all over at mega camp, and that was good. A lot of kids got some notice from smaller schools, some bigger schools that maybe wouldn't have been interested in a kid did. But again, at the end of the day, it was still a numbers deal. So if you're caught in that numbers thing, don't disrupt the idea of going to prep school or FCS or walking on. You still have a chance to go up the ladder. If you are stubborn, the numbers thing will catch you. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But I just kind of wanted to publish this just as my thoughts on it. And I know that it's not the information a lot of people want to hear, but it's the truth. This isn't speculation on my part. This is from people telling me what's going on. So anyway, everybody have a great day. Thank you very much.